Hi, welcome back. I'm Linda. I did a beautiful fall scene, roadside autumn, with some beautiful colors, birch trees, and some pretty foliage at the bottom. I know you're going to like painting this one. It's not that hard. So, and I'm going to show you how I chose these colors and how I put them on the palette, just so you can see how I do that. So get your paints out, get ready. So let's get started. Because when I first see a painting I like to just study the picture, and I jot down the colors that I see. You know, I see yellow ochre, I see burnt sienna, I see red ochre, and I see yellow, I see orange, black and white, red and orange. I mean, it's pretty simple actually, the colors. But like I said, with this background, I'm going to do a black and white background with some trees. And what I'll use is my sponge.
Oh.
I dip my sponge on my palette, on my black and white, and I'll just do some trees. I'll just tap here and there, tree, you know what I mean? And just try and make this background a little bit, and then I'll take a liner brush and I'll just make my trees. There we go. Now it's getting better. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Alright. And it's quite soft. It's very soft, see? See that, how soft it is? Alright, so I start out, I put my white, I go white, and then I go down around. I don't see any blue in my pictures, but normally I would put blue here. I'm going to put a little bit of yellow ochre here, since I'm going to be using that in the sky. So I'll just do a little yellow ochre. I just squirt a little bit like that. Let me get my caps on. I got my white, my yellow, and then I've got lamp black, which is another artist's law. I don't know, okay, then I'm just going to put a little black. Please add to it. And then from there, I'm going to go all the way around. I'm going to do, okay, brown from light, well, white in this, and then one for black will be Van Dyke brown will be next. And this is Winsor Newton. And this is a little bit thicker, but see how thick it is? It's got a little bit of oil in there. But that's alright. I'm going to take my, I'm going to just kind of mix it. Shop towel is all I know.
Yeah.
But it has no fiber in it. And when I, okay, see, I'm putting liquid white on the front before I paint. I can take this and wipe it. I don't know if you've watched my videos, but in the beginning I'll coat it and then I'll wipe it. This leaves no fibers at all. Next will be burnt sienna, because I'll be using these, that one. And I just squirt a little bit on there like that. You don't have to be fancy. I like to keep my tips nice and clean. Then I'll go into the red ochre. If you don't have red ochre, you can use Van Dyke brown with a little touch of red when you're mixing it. But this is such a pretty color. It's kind of a rusty red, like, see it?
Yeah.
Okay. And then I'm going to use Indian yellow. Put a little dab of that. See how creamy this is? I don't even have to thin it, really. I'm gonna go with orange, and you can use red and yellow for orange. But
Okay.
for my fall color, sometimes I like to do this straight orange. It, it's not, how should I say, so messy. I mean, I got it in a tube, I'll just use it. But I'm gonna kind of go like this to, because I know this artist loft is a little bit on the oil side. Try it. Just squirt a little, yep. Squirt a little of that on there. The oil is there, but I'm gonna, where's my, here it is. I'm just gonna catch it and mix it in because I want it to go on nice and smooth, you know? There, it's mixed. All right, so that's on. And then I'm gonna go with, now this is cad red tinge to it, so I'm just gonna, you can kind of see the difference. I need some yellow on my palette, so I'm gonna put a little
Oh, there you
yellow
go.
here. Yes, I gotta do that. So that's it for the palette, and all you do is keep adding. So here's the list of paints I use. Acrylic underpainting is black and white. Liquid clear, Artist Loft oils, white, lamp black, burnt sienna, and orange. Winsor Newton oils, Van Dyke brown, burnt sienna, Indian yellow, or yellow ochre, red ochre, cad yellow hue, and cad red light. And so I'm going right into, I'm going to show you what I did in the black and white. It's all dry now, but I took a sponge and a liner brush, and I made my background trees, and a little heavier brush on the bottom. So now I let that dry, and I'm taking liquid clear, and I'm going to put a nice thin coat, very thin, over the whole thing. Just back and forth. I may excuse me, I may leave that bottom section, the dark, where it's going to be the brush, without liquid white, but or liquid clear. So I'm going all the way there and taking a shop towel, taking off all the excess because you don't want to leave a lot on there, otherwise your paint will run. You do it as many times as you need to get that excess oil off. So I'm going into a little bit of yellow ochre and white. I'm going to do the background sky. This is oil now, because I'm not letting that liquid clear dry at all. I'm going to go right over the top of that. So I'm mixing a little, just a little bit of yellow ochre and white. I'm going to make a very, very pale yellowish sky. Just a tinge of yellow in there. So I'm going to put that all over, adding a little bit of white here and there over the trees because I want to make it look a little foggy in the background. So I'll be putting a little bit, I'm going back and forth, adding a little darker at the top. Just a little bit. I want it a very, very pale yellow ochre. Tapping my brush, taking the excess off. And I'll go all the way almost to the bottom. I'm going to leave that bottom brush area alone. But I'm going to keep going down until I have the right color that I want. Putting a little bit of foggy look in those between the trees. Making sure it's on really even, adding a little here and there if I think it's too light or a little too dark, I can put a little white on there. Now I'm putting a little more ochre kind of in the middle area. Just smoothing it on. I'm taking a shop towel. I'm going to take a little bit of that excess paint off, just a little bit. I've got a dry brush. Gonna go across, make sure it's nice and smooth. Adding a little white here and there for that foggy area. Just a little bit. You can take off some of that white over the trees with a shop towel. I just want to make sure. Now I've got a blender brush. I'm going to go over the whole thing. Just making sure it's nice and smooth and the way I want it. So I'm going into Van Dyke Brown, and I've got a little fan brush. I think it's a number 4, and I'm just scraping downward. You'll see I do this motion a lot with my fan brushes, especially with grassy areas. I kind of go down, kind of scratch downward. It makes the nicest little grasses. And then I'm going to go up a little bit into that foggy area and bring in some grassies up, kind of up in that area there. Just scrape downward. See how neat that looks? Some people go up. I go down. And you put them just where you want. And I'm using holding my brush vertical, so I'm making some make believe trees in there. Just background trees. That's all it is. Here and there. And I've got another clean fan brush, same size, and I've got some of that orange on there. Is cad yellow hue, kind of a yellow orange, and I'm scraping downward with that one, making some more graffies. Different layers of colors will go there. So I'm just putting the base colors right now. Just tapping in, scratching downward, pushing up, whatever works for you. But the motion downward does put in some nice grasses. Putting a little orange color in there. You don't have to go all the way to the bottom. Leave some of those dark areas open. So now I'm patting a little bit here and there where I want a little bit more fog. I just got a little bit on my finger. Okay, so I'm going into black and a little bit of Van Dyke Brown, and I'm going to start putting in trees. I've got a little liner brush. They're not as thick as I want right now. I'm just putting them in so I get an idea where they'll be. And then after a bit, I'll go back and fix them so they're a little bit thicker. They're very, very thin, straight trees. I'm kind of slow at it because they're supposed to, if they're birch, and they're very, very straight, tall, not all the way to the top there, but um, just carefully putting in some nice, thin, tall trees in the back and in front. Probably going to be around 10 in the front, um, which I'll make a little bit wider, just a tiny bit. But right now, I'm just putting them in there, and then I'll decide which ones I want to use uh, in the front, which will be the closest trees. And I'm pulling the trunks right down into that dark area. Carefully putting them in. Now I'm tapping in a little bit of burnt sienna. I've got a scruffy brush. It's a Donna Dewberry scruffy, 3/4 inch, which I believe they still carry that online. That is the nicest little brush to make foliage. I'm making background foliage on the trees. This is just groundwork for the colors that I'm going to be adding, but I'm just doing some base colors in the back. Um, Putting this burnt sienna kind of in the middle, a little bit at the top, here and there, where I'm looking at my picture and I see the different shades of fall colors. And a lot of them, now I'm adding a little bit of dark brown, Van Dyke brown in that. Burnt sienna, I'm making some darker areas in there too, because you need that those dark areas for contrast. So now still going into my burnt sienna. I'm going to continue to tap upward. So I'm not going to go all the way to the top, but almost. And just tapping vertical up with my brush, very, very light. This is just the background color, so you don't have to be real fussy, but you want to make sure the colors are in the right area. Now I've added a little bit of yellow and orange, tapping in behind those. I use this cad yellow hue. It's a little bit of a orangey yellow, but you can make it with cadmium yellow with a touch of orange too. Now I'm straightening out my trees as I go, making them a little bit thicker, because I want them nice and straight. So with a little liner brush in black, I'm making some little arms, little branches coming out. And I thin the black, uh, not watery, but ink like consistency. It goes on a lot nicer. Just a very, very light uh touch, and that black should just flow on there real easy. I have to reload though a lot, but that's okay. So I'm gonna go and put a lot of the little branches in there. Gives me an idea where I might put clumps of pretty leaves, so I'm not jumping all over the place. I kind of follow where the branches are. Now there is a simpler way, but I haven't found it yet. I'm going into white with my palette knife. And since I can't draw a straight line very well, I'm going to go put a roll on my palette knife, and I'm going to go right up that trunk, just carefully pushing in and getting that white line right that tree. And then I'll go back with a small brush and I'll drag some of that white over. Uh, and then I'll touch here and there with little black dots, little black birch markings. But that's the easiest way you know, for me anyway, to get the white birch, because it's a trick getting those nice straight trees. So I'm just going up with going back and forth. I have two brushes loaded, one white small brush and one black. And then I'm going to go in and straighten up the white, add a little here and there, and then I'll touch with my black and I'll just put little birch markings here and there. It's kind of tedious, but it sure is pretty when you get done. And I usually have that dark side be the left side of those trees. They can be a little on the dark side, but the right side should be pretty white. So I go back, I've gone back and I've made some changes a little bit. It's just too liney, you know, it needs to, I like to see things that are a little more natural. It can be done, but you can play around with it and put your white on slowly. And you shouldn't have to let it dry at all when you add the black. That's the beauty of the wet on wet technique because the black is thinner, much thinner, and so it will stick. So I'm just going in and perfecting the trunks with some white, leaving a little bit of openings there where the leaves may show through. Getting that outside edge best I can. Adding the little dark markings. And with the birch tree, there's no real set pattern. They're just wherever you want to put them. Still working on the trunks, getting the white in there, make sure how they show up. A little liner brush, real small liner brush works pretty good. Okay, still working on the trunks. Got some black that I'm putting in now. The real close to the bottom of their trunks are quite dark. So I've left the dark color at the bottom of the trunks fairly black because they're very dark. Okay, now I'm going into the birch sienna, and I'm gonna start putting in some more background leaves here before I go into my 2-inch. I'm just putting in some leafy shapes, just background trees, leaves. Just tapping in some of that color. More at the top. I say this is just the base. I've got using a fan brush here. Use whatever brush works. You know, I kind of, well, that's a scruffy. I use my scruffy and I use my fan brush. I'm going into a little bit of the cad yellow hue with a touch of Indian yellow. And I'm just dotting in there. That one tree is uh, kind of a yellow, very yellow. The leaves are turning differently. And there are different trees behind there. So there's going to be a variation. So you can put your yellow ones, more yellow leaves on the right there. Fill that in a little bit. And then the darker leaves, see, they'll change. They'll be yellow first. And then when you add a little bit of the yellow ochre on that, it makes a nice color. It blends well with the burnt sienna. Going into a little orange, putting a little orange in there. Just filling in, mixing the colors. I add a touch, put my brush in a little orange. I tap it into yellow. It's like double loading. So now I've got a little liner, and I'm gonna accentuate some of those branches a little bit. Bring those branches this way. Just very, very small, small branches. You don't want them real heavy. Now this is a round brush, a number 3, and this makes for really different types of leaves. Put that in some of my red ochre there, and I'm going to shape some leaves there. Just vertical, kind of making half moon, and then ending up with a little bit of a tip on those leaves. It's works really cool. I like the way that brush works. I have another one that's smaller for tighter areas, but this, see how it makes the leaves like they're sticking out, pointing one direction? So I'm just putting a little color over the top of the yellow. A lot of that yellow will show through. You want to leave some of those light areas exposed too. Figuring out where I want to put my next clump of leaves. Looks like more the center, that big tree there. Did some more leaves on that side. And I'll make one that kind of curves downward. Kind of an odd leaf there, but I'll put different colors over it and you'll see how pretty that looks. Just shaping. Putting some more on the other side. Staying with the red ochre and maybe a touch of burnt sienna in that. Fill it in the center. Kind of tedious, but it's going to all come together here in a few minutes. Okay, I'm back with my little scruffy. I'm going to go in straight orange there. Straight orange, or it's also called cadmium yellow hue, which is on the order of that orange. So I've got both of them on there. Got orange and this cad yellow hue. Just a variation of oranges. Tapping in there. Just a few light taps. Now I'm going in with my 2-inch. Actually, it's a 1-inch. Small. And I went into my red ochre. And I'm going to start putting some red color in there. Just tapping lightly here and there. Leave some of those open areas open. I always tap my brush too, and then I reload in the color I want. See, it fills in where you haven't been. It just makes it all come together. I love that color. And just tap that in, random. You don't want to have it solid. You want to leave some open areas. So you can kind of see the background and the fog there too. So now I'm bringing out a little filbert. That and fan brush helps make little points on your leaves. Just tapping very lightly, shaping those leaves. Still adding some more color there. There's a little orange clump there on the bottom left, and a little one kind of above there too. Bright colors. I'm just filling in with the yellow ochre, or yellow, the red ochre. Now I'm tapping right straight yellow, cad yellow there. We got a 1 inch. I'm going to put a little bit in the lighter areas. Bring in some more of that yellow color. And that consistency should be not be real thick either. Then it will stick. So I've got a little trick here to open up some of the sky areas. I've got a Q-tip and I dipped it in some odorless thinner. And I'm just going to touch here and there to open up some holes where the sky is. See how that works? If you see an area that's too thick, you can open it up a little bit with a Q-tip. Back into a 1 inch into my red ochre. Well, I'm going back to my little round brush. I'm gonna put some dark areas. Accentuate some of the leaves. Little fan brush there, yellow and white. I'm gonna add a little color to those darker leaves. Or wherever you think you see you might need some yellow. Tapping in my orange and my cad yellow hue together. The hue is a little bit lighter, cad yellow hue, than the orange. So when you mix them together, it looks pretty, really pretty. Still perfecting my leaves. You got to get up, stand back, squint a little bit, and see where you might need some more color. I'm in my red cadmium red light. That is very, very red, which is another beautiful fall color. I love using that one. Just brings it. See how pretty that looks? I'm gonna tip my smaller brush, and I've got a lot of brushes that I use for the colors, and I don't wash them off right away. I just leave them right there because I'll be using, use them again. Load them up, switch them out, add a little white there to that yellow. Going into red ochre. The beautiful rusty color. I'm going to dab just here and there in that solid area. I want to break that up just a little bit. Just so I'm kind of analyzing that, seeing what I need to do next. I'm going to add a little bit of the the um, cad yellow hue and little orange. It's a little filbert. I'm just gonna fix a few little areas that I think is a little bit too solid. I'm gonna add a little bit of yellow in there. Back to my 1 inch, tapping in my yellow and white. Gonna go towards the top there. There's a lot of yellow on top. Okay, so I've got the black and a little bit of brown on a very small brush, a little liner. And I'm still working on the trunks, getting those trunks nice and straight. I'm going to add a few more arms that are hidden from the leaves. Bring those arms forward. Just gently lift up. Putting in some extra little small trees at the bottom. Gives it a little character. Okay, I'm going into the cad yellow hue, cad red hue. Mixing those two colors together. I'm going to start making some really bright grassies right over what we did before. Leave some of those dark holes in there though. It's a very bright yellow orange there, and I do the downward motion with it's a little fan brush, scratching, pulling down. You'll see how neat that looks. Go right up to the base of those trees. Might want to leave a little brown area kind of around the trees a little bit. And then maybe some grasses that come up around it too. Do it however you want. I just want these grasses. I've got several pictures from when we went on vacation, northern Michigan, and this very scene, what I'm painting, is what I've seen. The brush in front of these birch are just fiery red and orange. So pretty. Just put as many as you want. If you think you want a little more darker areas, with a different fan brush, I'm gonna bring in the bottom. I'm gonna add some black down there, black and a little bit of Van Dyke. I want that really dark, especially the corners, and I'll make it look like there's a little hill kind of on the left. Bring that grassies up, same motion with the fan brush. Just push down. The brush will work for you. See how pretty that's looking? All right, so now I've got another little uh, liner. I'm gonna start making some of these. Oh, I don't know what they're like ferns. They're like dried up ferns that are down in that tall orange grass. It's kind of hard to make them, but put a little line and maybe do some lines across. You'll see, looks like kind of like a little Christmas tree, a mini Christmas tree, like fern like. And you can make them however you want, but I just want something a little different in those grasses. Slightly lighter color so you can see them. I'm taking my palette knife, and I'm scratching upward too, just scratching lightly, and that makes some cool graphy looking things too. As long as the paint's wet, you can create the nicest tall graph there at the bottom. Just scratch upward, not real hard, but like I say, the paint's wet and you can move it really easy. Now I've got a little that light cad yellow hue, light with a little bit of white, and I'm brushing, going vertical upward with my fan brush, just making some different types of plant life that lives there. Well, I see a finished painting. I enjoyed this painting, and I hope you do too. So till next time, happy painting and God bless.